Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Natasha from Fashion Academy, and in today's tutorial I'll be showing you how to draft the basic skirt block. In this tutorial you need a calculator, a tracing wheel, a pencil, a scissors to cut your papers, an eraser, a 24-inch ruler, and a hip curve. You also need a pattern paper for this tutorial. However, if you do not have a pattern paper, you can make use of old newspapers, but make sure to use sellotape to tape them together to make it longer. And if you do not have a French cover as well, you can make use of the cover of a jar. If you do not have a tracing wheel, you can make use of added pressure when drawing lines. And if you're using newspapers, please ensure to change your pencils to markers or a darker pen so you can see the lines you're about to draw. For this tutorial, you'll be needing the following measurements: waist measurement, hip measurement, waist to hip length measurement, skirt length measurement or the waist to knee measurement, and the nipple to nipple measurement of whoever it is you'll be making the skirt for. However, if you're making this for yourself, take your measurements by yourself. If you do not know how to take this measurement, kindly click on the link at the right corner of this video and you'll be directed to my video on measurements. To begin, the measurements we have outlined down are the waist for 24 inches, hip of 34 inches, waist to hip 8 inches, skirt length of 24 inches, and the nipple to nipple for 7 inches. To begin, I went ahead to draw border lines around my paper using 3 centimeters as the measurement to draw my border lines. And I drew these border lines to indicate that I'll only be working in this free area of my paper. To begin drafting this block, start by marking the waist points. To get the waist point, you divide the waist measurement by 4 and you add 2 inches for dart and seam allowance. That's 24 divide 4 plus 2 inches. That is 6 plus 2 equals 8. You mark 8 inches starting from point 0 on the right corner of the paper. Now you divide the measurements into 4 because this pattern is on fold. So when you're cutting your fabric, you cut on fold. To get the skirt length of this pattern, mark 24 inches down from point 0 on the right side of the paper and square across to the left side of the paper, like so. Now to mark the hip length of this pattern, from point 0 on the right side of the paper, mark 8 inches down and do the same on the left side to square across. So we're going to go ahead and label the pattern. On your 8 inches line, you label it as the hip line, and on the 24 inches line drawn, you label as the skirt length. The top border line becomes your waist line. The right side of the paper becomes the center front and the left side of the paper becomes the center back. To get the hip measurements, divide your hip by 4 inches, this time adding only 1 inch to the result. That is 34 inch divide 4 inch, which gives us 8.5 plus 1 inch to give us 9.5. The reason you only add 1 inch to the hip is because of the seam allowance. Then mark the same 9.5 inch on the skirt length line. This becomes the width of your hem. To connect these points, rule a straight line connecting the point on the hip line to the point on the skirt length line. Then take your hip curve and connect the point on the waistline to the point on the hip line. Then label these points as HP for the point on the hip line to indicate your hips, and WP on the point of the waistline to indicate your waist measurements. To get the placement of the dart, you're going to need to draw a dart line. Using the nipple to nipple measurement of 7 inches, divide that by 2 and mark 3.5 inch from point 0. Draw a straight line down, stopping only 2 inches above the hip line. Then label that line as DL, which means dart line. To determine the size of the dart, take 1 inch out of the 2 inches added measurement for the waist and divide that into 2. that is 1/2 inch on both sides of the darts. Mark 1/2 inch on both sides of the dart and connect to knotting at the end of the dart line, like so. Now for the seam allowance, take the extra 1 inch for the waist measurement and mark inwards from the waist point. Do the same on the hip line using the extra 1 inch for the hip measurement and mark inwards from the hip line. Also do the same on the skirt length and mark 1 inch inwards from the width of the hem. Then connect all points together like so. If you do not have a French curve or a hip curve, just use your ruler to connect this point, but at the hip point, use your hand to create sort of like a curve so that your skirt does not have a pointed hip fitting. Then go ahead and label your pattern, this pattern, as the front basic block, and then label the seam allowance so you know that is where you will be sewing on. After labeling this pattern, you're going to go right ahead and trace these marks onto the other side of the paper. Simply fold your paper in half like so and take your tracing wheel. Then begin to trace all your lines onto the other side of the paper using pressure. However, because I was making use of a glass table, I did not add pressure to mine. So here's what to do if you do not have a tracing wheel. Just repeat all the steps previously done for the front pattern to the other side of the paper, like so. Now that you're done tracing the marks onto the other side of the paper, you're going to dip the back to avoid gaping of the zip by simply taking 2 centimeters in from point 0 and connect it to nothing on the hip line like so. Because taking this 2 centimeters in means reducing from the waist measurement of our pattern, so you're going to go right ahead and take 2 centimeters out from the waist point and connect it to nothing on the hip point. Do the same for the seam allowance line. Make sure to label your pattern indicating where the seam allowance is, and also label the waist point, the hip point, and the hem line. Now to finish up this pattern, on the front basic block, go down by 1 centimeter on the waistline from point 0 and connect to knotting on the waist point. This becomes your true waistline, so go right ahead and label that as TWL. We take this line down because your waist is round, so this helps to achieve a rounded fitting on the waistline when you sew your skirt. And now you're done drafting the basic skirt block. This can be used to sew a straight skirt, and this is what your pattern should look like when you're done. Thank you for watching, guys. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and kindly give me a thumbs up if you found this video helpful. Please do not forget to leave feedbacks and comments. I'd like to see them. See you in the next tutorial.